Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Sports Matter podcast. My name is Gianna Castro. I'm your host, and like I said last week, I'm doing a new thing where I'm going to say my pronouns. I use they, them pronouns, and I feel like that's super important because we need to start getting used to it because it's not just like a non-binary or a trans thing. Like everyone has pronouns, and some people are dumb and they don't think that they do, which is really awkward for them. I saw a TikTok the other day about it, but I digress. I have another person on the show. I'm so glad that I don't have to sit alone in my kitchen talking to myself. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you guys about a thing that I'm doing next month. I am so excited to be a part of Podcast Row at the 2022 United Soccer Coaches Convention in Kansas City this January. The convention is the ultimate event for soccer coaches and those who work in the game. Rekindle your passion through presentations, on-field demonstrations, exhibits, and events for coaches at every level. Whether you're attending alone or bringing the whole coaching staff, there's no better place to learn, network, and experience all aspects of the game. Register for the convention before the price increases on December 16th to secure the best rate. And as a listener of this podcast, use the promo code POD22 at checkout and save an additional $40. Your registration also includes all of the recorded sessions, so you won't miss a thing. Visit UnitedSoccerCoachesConvention.org today to register before December 16th and use promo code POD22 at checkout to save. We can't wait to be reunited with you all in Kansas City. I'm super excited to do this. In fact, I made my first thing of merch today. It's a wristband. I made a wristband. It has the show's name on it. It's not a big thing, but I'm excited that I have made this kind of a thing to bring with me to Kansas City. So if you're going to be there, stop by Podcast Row. I'll be there for the 20th to the 22nd. Get a wristband and some other cool stuff. And yeah, like I said before, we have a guest today. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Subria Whitaker. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the executive director and founder of Grow the Game, a Southside Chicagoan until I die, a Northwestern alumna, and a member of the Fighting Illini.
A lot of great stuff you got going on there. I was actually reading, so I looked you up because I wanted to see if there was any more information that I can have, because I don't like prepping for my shows. But I have a feeling that I'm going to have to start doing that eventually. So I decided to start today. And I was just reading up. We were talking about this earlier, but you interned for a few places. Yes. But I looked at this whole list and I was like, oh my God, like that's so freaking cool. The Hawks, the Bears. You were at the office of the Attorney General for DC.
Yes.
Congresswoman Fudge.
Yes.
Like, all this stuff. This is so cool. How did you?
Thank you.
How did the opportunity with working with Congresswoman Fudge come about? Because I love politics too, and it's not a thing that I get to talk about a lot here. I work where I'm volunteering for the person that's running for Secretary of State, Anna Valencia. So I'm working with her campaign right now on some stuff. But I love politics, and I just want to know, how did you get into that? What inspired you to get into that? All that kinds of stuff.
Sure. So I knew pretty much at the beginning of undergrad that I was going to pursue law school. I'm a very outspoken person. Even in high school, I had the opportunity to meet some of the mayors of Chicago, some political figures. And while I was an undergrad, I also knew I was interested in a sorority called Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. And they have a foundation called the Delta Research Educational Foundation. And like every other week, I was just going on a deep dive for scholarships and internship opportunities that were related to law and my interests in the community. I'm very big on community. And I saw that they had an internship for Congresswoman Marsha Fudge's office, who is a past national president of Delta. And I also thought that would help me, become a member as part of my application for membership to become a Delta. And fortunately, I am now a Delta. So I think that helped. It was a great opportunity to not only meet one of the past national presidents of the organization that I wanted to join, but to really understand how Congress works. And, just in today's society, a lot of people always say, email your congressman or call your congressman. I think some people think that their voices don't matter, but I can tell you, as the intern for that office, I answered those phone calls, I read those emails, and I had to put together the list of concerns that most constituents were calling or emailing about. And so it was a great opportunity to be on the Hill and do some research, some legislative writing, and just really understand how Congress works.
That again is like so freaking cool. Like you have no idea that is just amazing. I love when people get involved in this kind of stuff. I think for me, when I was growing up, I didn't know where I was politically, if that makes sense. So I was just trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. I went to a private Catholic school for 6 years. Like, okay, story time. Public school, kindergarten to third, fourth to eighth, private school, graduated from that private school. Freshman to sophomore year, private school, and then junior, senior year, public high school. So I got to be with a lot of different kinds of people for 12 years. And I was just like, okay, this private Catholic school was really conservative. I don't know how I feel about that. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Switch over to public school. Oh my goodness, it's so diverse and a lot of people are kind of like me, and it's crazy. And then I was like, okay, I know where I am. And so my congresswoman is Lauren Underwood. And I found out about her campaign because people were wearing t-shirts around Neuqua Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and was like, oh, this is weird. Like, I've never heard of this person before. And I think that kind of started for me getting into politics. Oh, she went to Neuqua, and then she got sworn in at Neuqua. Like, that's really cool. And seeing all this stuff around here. She even went to, so I work at the Kane County Cougars. I'm their television producer. And she went to a game and threw out the first pitch. And it was like, whoa, that's my congresswoman on the baseball field. Like, that's pretty cool. And it was just like, whoa, what a world we live in. But yeah, I really love politics. I'm in a bunch of different organizations and well, volunteering with a bunch of organizations. It's nice to like encourage people to vote and to care about issues that are going on in your respective communities. What is one issue right now that you think is super important for people to follow and to understand?
In my community specifically,
Just in general, if you want, or you can do your community. It doesn't matter.
okay, sure. So, as I'm sure you also saw, after that, I eventually became a fellow for the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus Foundation. So that was a switch from DC and US Congress to Illinois Congress. And I was very passionate about us figuring out a solution to the gun violence. I know Chicago gets a lot of jokes and a lot of flack about our gun violence, and being actually from the city and a product of Chicago public schools, I've seen what it's like to be in a community where you are losing the opportunity to, get jobs, after school programs are being taken away. Even in high school, um, drafting was like the last elective that we had. Like, back in the day, you see movies or you hear people talk about shop class and home economics, and we didn't have that at Morgan Park anymore. So I think with education, you also have to talk about the workforce, and everyone is not made to go to college. Everyone does not want to go to college. But if you take away people's opportunity to learn those skills in high school, you're essentially either forcing them into college or they're going to drop out and start doing other things. So I wanted to start a petition for a bill that would make it so that all Illinois high schools had to have those types of classes or apprenticeship programs so that they could have an alternative. So if they didn't want to go to college, they would at least have some skills or some training under their belt to where they could just enter the workforce. And I think that is a huge way to fix the violence, or even the war on drugs, as they want to say. It just all of those things I think are directly related to opportunity and resources. So I think that's something that people can start looking at if they live in those areas with high crime rates, how that's directly related to the opportunities in high schools, and just how, like in Chicago, there are public schools and there are selective enrollment schools, and everyone is not equal. And some schools have those resources and other schools don't. And that's why something like Congress can make it an even playing field by saying you have to at least have those things in all schools, so that those neighborhoods that are constantly underfunded and under resourced now have those resources.
That is really cool. I think as someone that went to a school that has like a shit ton of resources,
Yes.
you kind of forget. You kind of forget. I mean, my private Catholic high school that I went to was like, I didn't even have air conditioning in there, so I went from that to like freaking Equal Valley of all places. So
Yeah.
it's like whoa. But people, I'm so tired of everyone being like, oh, everyone's got to go to college. No, they don't.
No.
And I don't. There's days that I question, but it's like I need to go through this to do what I want to do, because it's kind of hard. If you don't have a degree, you can't get a job. That's how it is today, which is super unfortunate. But I don't. We're gonna switch topics now, because I could honestly go on and on. I'm sure you could too about this kind of stuff. But
absolutely,
there's times where I have to remind myself that this is a women's sports podcast. And I honestly should just make another show about like politics and stuff that's happening in the world, because I feel like I could talk more about that than women's sports, which is kind of like my whole life is sports, but there's also other stuff that's going on. But I digress.
Well, if you need a segue, I can tell you that before we hopped on, I just read a quote that was talking about how like girls or women in sports become great leaders. And that reminds me of a soccer player who was playing professionally. And I think she graduated undergrad from UCLA, and she just tweeted recently that she got into UCLA School of Law.
Oh, yeah. Kaya McCullough.
Yeah. Yes. So I think while it may not appear to be the exact same conversation, I think they can be a part of the same conversation. So I see, that's the relation, if you really need one, but it's definitely there.
Yes. Kaya has done a lot, and still she gets so much shit. It is unbelievable. Like, and it's just racist white people most of the time, which is like, what the fuck is wrong with all these people? I'm trying to swear quietly so my family doesn't yell at me, because my family listens to this show. But I do like to swear because I'm Irish. But that, and they don't like that excuse either. But one of my favorite tweets that I saw recently is like these soccer players that got their whatever UEFA B license, I think, for coaching. And it's like, we need more people that have played the sport to coach and that have the experiences, so they can share the experiences with the kind of people that they would be coaching. Not like this is against like men coaching in women's sports, but you need these kinds of leaders and people that have these experiences, so they know what it's like, so they can coach these teams. Because a lot of the men recently with the NWSL has been like, oh, that's the sound effect I would use with
yes, that. I agree.
It was NWSL coaches, men. Ugh, that's how I feel. Especially with Rory, because like, as someone that roots for the Red Stars, I thought that he was good. I thought he was good, and he's not. He's a terrible human being that deserves to never be involved in the world of soccer ever again. Are you a big Red Stars fan? I know you were at the playoff game, and I did not have time to stop over to the booth. I really wanted to stop over by the Gear the Game booth, which is something that I want to talk about in the show. But how was that experience at that Red Stars game? Did a lot of people come over to that booth?
Yes, we definitely had over 100 people stop by and fill out a card to enter into our giveaway. But to answer your question, I'm actually as much as I tweet and dabble in basketball, I'm actually a lifelong soccer player. I started playing soccer when I was 6, and I continue to do so until I went to college. But if I had it my way, I would be a professional soccer player right now. So that's how strongly I feel about soccer, how much I love soccer. But unfortunately, just with the layout of Chicago sports, the closest thing now to me is Wintrust. So even like before when the Sky were playing all the way in Rosemont, like my parents never took me to a game. So my parents took me to a Fire game back when they were playing where the Red Stars are now, back before I could drive. And then I kind of moved away. And so now that I'm back, I had the opportunity to go to my first Red Stars game in person earlier this year, the home opener actually. And then a friend invited me to a season ticket member event. And then I went to that semi-playoff game. So I got a lot of FaceTime and in-person experiences with them this season. And I am strongly considering becoming a season ticket holder. But I also need Chicago to work on our stadiums. Like it is Chicago where it can be 100 degrees one day and -2 the next. So I need us to start building domes. But until then, I will do my best to go to outside sporting events.
Yeah, I don't understand why Soldier Field isn't a dome. It's something that I've never understood.
Never.
One bit. Like my mom likes to call it a spaceship. She said it looks like an alien like spacecraft
Yes.
or whatever. It was like, yeah, I can see that. But it's funny that you mentioned how the Sky played at in Rosemont. Like, well,
Yes.
I work in Rosemont now. I work for the Wolves. I'm doing game day stuff. But my first Sky game was back in the day, like first grade, maybe second grade. I was at camp. We went to camp day. And I remember specifically what it was. It was Washington Mystics, Chicago Sky, Stephanie Dolson, blue hair era. And it's a very specific detail, but I remember it. And I know that Washington beat Chicago. And then ever since then, I've been a Chicago Sky fan.
Well, I'm glad you had that experience because, like I said, my mother, and of course, like she worked all day. So she was not necessarily trying to spend her evenings or her weekends taking me all the way to Rosemont. But once I was able to get a license and drive myself, I tried to go. But now I'm super excited that they're so close. They're like 20 minutes from me. So I can just easily hop in my car, go to games. So yeah, this is probably the most Red Stars and Sky games that I've gone to in a season. Probably WNBA altogether because I also went to a Sparks game this season and an Atlanta Dream game and a couple Indiana games. So yeah.
I went to my first Chicago Fire game this year, my first Red Stars game this year. I went to Athletes Unlimited in what was that? In August. Is that in July or August? I think it was in August. So I went to a lot of firsts this year for women's and men's sports because my family doesn't like soccer. I'm the only soccer fan in my family.
Me too.
And it's just like, okay, so you're gonna understand this. They're more of like a football and baseball type family. And every time I try to put soccer on, they turn it off. They're like, can you turn this off? And more like in a mean way. I'm gonna try and be nice on here, but or there was this one time. Oh, on Thanksgiving there was an MSL or MLS. I don't know why I said that MLS playoff game, but there was like all these football games on because it's Thanksgiving. And I was like, well, we have some time. Can we put the MLS game on? And he goes, no. The whatever team is on. I was like, no. This is my house. You're in my house. I want to watch soccer. I want to watch the real football.
Right.
the real football. But so you're that big of a Red Stars fan now? You're gonna season ticket. I want to be a season ticket holder, but I am 19 years old and I don't have any money. So I think my future goal is if I live in a city, because I don't really plan on staying in Naperville of all places, because there's nothing here. But when I move somewhere, hopefully, I want to be a season ticket holder to a women's sports team. That's my goal. If I make a decent amount of money, which I don't know if that'll be the case, but
yes, same. I mean, that's why, me just transitioning out of school into a career. That's why I was not a season ticket holder for the Sky this season, although it probably would have made sense considering how many games I did end up going to. And it's not like that much money. But I think at the time I was inquiring, it was like the point of you have to pay in full. Like there's no more 50, like normally it's like a 50% or a deposit down and then you pay. And we were way past that. So maybe if I jump in early enough where I can do like monthly payments, I could probably do it. But I am also trying to become a season ticket holder for a women's sport. I have not yet done so. And then maybe in like 25, 30 years from now, when we're having this conversation, we can move the goal to ownership. But first, we can start with season tickets for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be an owner because I feel like that's a lot of responsibility. Not saying that I don't want to take on all this responsibility. I mean, I have so much responsibility right now. It's not funny for a 19-year-old doing all this stuff. Oh my God, it's so much. But owning a team, what would you do if you own a soccer team? What was some stuff you would do? Would you change up like logos or whatever? I don't even know what owners do. I need to educate myself. But what would you do if you were an owner of a women's soccer team, for example?
I don't know. I had made a joke earlier, in the Sky season about how if I was an owner, like the first 500 people or however many people that came to a game, I would give them free Heralds and like a Baba's lemonade because those are like two of my favorite Chicago staple foods. And I think I would still translate that over to the Red Stars. Like I know Sarah has the tailgate, and I'm starting to realize that like pizza is like a good soccer food, but I'm and I think that could translate too. It would just have to be some type of like it would have to be a Chicago team, obviously, and it would have to be some type of Chicago there. Like first, however many people you get Garrett's today, and then tomorrow or the next game, a Giordano slice or something, or a beggar's slice if you're anti deep dish, since that seems to be a reoccurring conversation amongst sports fans. It would just have to be some type of ridiculous Chicago ode that everybody would know. Okay, this is a Chicago sports team, and this owner is insane, and she's from Chicago, so she's gonna make everything about Chicago. And that would be my one goal: is to make everything about Chicago.
Okay, since you brought up the pizza, since you brought it up, I feel like it's fair game now. So I actually, if people didn't know, so you like to talk about Chicago a lot on Twitter and
Yes.
correcting people, and I
Yes.
thank you because I would like to be corrected sometimes. I can't talk. I like when people correct me for when I'm wrong because I'll actually own up to say that I'm wrong, but some other people don't want to. It may take me a while, but eventually I will get there. And I did ask my family the other day, and I was like, what is Chicago pizza? My grandmother says, I don't know. My mom says deep dish. And I'm sitting here like, I don't know what to think anymore. So there's this whole thread. I'm sure people can find it if they go on our socials on Twitter. But can you please tell me and tell my family listening
Yes.
what Chicago pizza is?
Okay, so to be perfectly clear, while deep dish is a Chicago thing, and I will defend deep dish to the death of me, specifically Giordano's, I want nothing to do with Luminati's. If you go to Luminati's, you get exactly what you deserve. But we also have a specific thin crust pizza that is different than New York pizza. I know this because I feel like I lived in New York in a past life, and I was just in New York a couple of weeks ago eating New York pizza. But our thin crust pizza is like a beggar's pizza. Like my favorite one is on 127th, right off Western, or a Waldo Cooney's, or an Italian Fiesta if you're in like the Hyde Park or over East neighborhoods. But it is very different than deep dish. And I will also say to the people listening, when I was in college, they had a fake Chicago nights in the dining hall, and they tried to replicate deep dish pizza. And the problem was a majority of the pizza was crust and then like cheese and sauce. But real deep dish pizza is a majority probably cheese more than sauce or bread. So if you have a misconception of deep dish, let's start with that ratio there. And then let's talk about where you're getting your pizza from. And then let's talk about the fact that if you do not like deep dish pizza, that is fine because you can happily go to Beggars and get you some pepperoni or some sausage and you will love Chicago pizza.
Okay, so does Home Run Inn count as Chicago pizza?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question.
Because that's my favorite pizza place.
I personally would not consider that Chicago. And this is the only reason. Because I grew up on Home Run and frozen pizzas. I actually have one in my freezer right now, and I just had one like last week. I love Home Run and like their frozen pizzas. It still doesn't taste like Beggars to me, so that's kind of like why I would say no. But also, when I went to Home Run in person in a real pizza place, granted this was like the 6th grade, and I hold grudges. I was so disappointed because it didn't taste anything like the frozen pizza, but it also wasn't good to me like to say, oh, this is Chicago pizza. So I leave Home Run In out of all conversations related to Chicago pizza. But I also have beef with Home Run In because they apparently had the best burger, okay, that I've ever had. And I know someone listening is like, why would you go to a pizza place and get a burger? But hear me out. It was a pretzel bun burger. Let's start there. You cannot go wrong with pretzel bun anything. Obviously, like Angus beef and the breaded onions, like bacon and blue cheese. Let's talk about that because all of that together was truly the best burger that I've ever had. And Home Run Inn has decent fries. And they got rid of it like 2 weeks after I discovered its existence. So with that being said, I am protesting Home Run Inn until they bring that burger back.
The burger sounds pretty good. Well, now I'm hungry, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I never thought of Home Run into burgers. Never thought of that. But okay, I've actually never been to a Beggars pizza. My family is very like picky when it comes to pizza. This whole thing. I don't want to go into it because then I can make a whole podcast about pizza, honestly, at this point. Because my family is just so damn picky, but my favorite is Home Run In. And I do agree the frozen ones, we also buy the frozen ones. They don't taste anything like when you go in to the restaurant. And I wish there was a Home Run in my town, but I have to drive 15 minutes if I want to go. And I don't like driving. But that's besides the point. So again, with the Chicago tweets, I love them personally because my family grew up in the city and I did not. And I just love learning all this little bits and pieces about the city and people fighting you in the comments or whatever. Yes. I think it's hilarious. It brightens my day.
And I want to thank you on behalf of Chicagoans everywhere. I would like to thank you for, one, confidently claiming Naperville, and two, proving and differentiating between the fact, but proving that they are not the same.
Yeah.
Like you do not get a map and circle from Chicago to Naperville and say it's one big thing.
Yeah, it's not the same.
So thank you.
I mean, I grew up in Bolingbrook, which is like literally 5 minutes away
from that's closer.
From here.
Closer, but it's not going to be Chicago.
Yeah, no, like I went to high school in Joliet for a few years, and people in their Instagram bios have Chicago, and it's like, you're probably closer to Peoria. You should just put Peoria in your bio.
Exactly.
I think people, the one thing that I want to point out is people got upset, I think, if I remember correctly, when you talked about Candace Parker, who is from Naperville, who is not really a hometown person. Allie Quigley is from Joliet. Not really hometown, but like, can we say home state? I feel like they should just change it to home state player.
Yes. And I want to be very clear. I first of all, I love Candace. And I do also love the fact that she will tell people she's from Naperville.
Yeah.
And someone tried to like argue with me about it, and they dropped a video of her saying that she played in the city. And I think that's fair. But again, you can be a part of Chicago basketball if that makes sense, but like she is, but understand that like it's still neighborhood. Now, how had she like Allie gone to DePaul or something, then maybe you could try and squeeze her in there because at least there will be some contribution to really Chicago basketball. But I let it slide. Now I let it slide since she has brought a championship to the Sky.
Okay.
Like that kind of lets it in there because Chicago, that is literally Chicago basketball.
Yeah.
But I just feel like if you're not going to, like you said, give the same Chicago-ness to Allie, who grew up close, like in the area, but then, like I said, went to DePaul. If you're not gonna call her a hometown hero, you definitely can't call Candace one. But most importantly, if you do not talk about Cappy Pondexter and also played for Chicago Sky and actually grew up out west and played for Chicago Public School, Marshall, then we need to take a minute and think and have a real conversation about who we're going to consider hometown. But but like I said, my requirement is if you're gonna have, like when they did All-Star Weekend, they had like there was Candace was there. I can't even remember who else was there, but like there's conversation like Candace and Iman, who is from like Oak Park. Sometimes people put Dwayne Wade, but if you go in his bio, he's from Robbins. If you're not gonna talk about Derek and Cappy first, and then like AD, Kendrick, Io, then we cannot talk about anybody else until we talk about those people.
I agree. I mean, Candace is my hometown hero.
Yes, and I don't want them to take that from you all because you all deserve it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird though with the way that it's worded, I guess, because I think people don't understand how far away like I actually am from the city. I'm an hour away from the city.
Yes.
Joliet is like maybe an hour 45 away from the city, give or take 15 minutes.
Right. Like Champaign is an hour and 45 minutes. Okay. And no one is going to say that if someone is from Champaign, I'm pretty sure they're going to attach it to Champaign.
Yeah.
Like Ludacris is actually born in Champaign. Obviously, he does not claim it, but if you want to attach someone to Champaign, it would be Ludacris. You would not just jump through a bunch of hoops and be like, he's born in Chicago, because he wasn't.
Yeah, I tell people, well, okay. I'm gonna admit to something. I'm gonna admit to being wrong. When I was in France, I was in France when the World Cup was happening in 2019. And the people from the US women's national team, like their media people, were doing like this question. They were giving out stickers to people that got it right. And so they asked me where I was from. And I said I was from Chicago because I don't want to be telling people in France, number one, where I live, like what town I'm in. But I also just think like for logistics,
yes,
I think it's safe to say Chicago. And when I went to, there was an open house at Loyola, and the guy asked us where we were from, and my mom, I think, said Chicago or something like that, or she said Naperville, and then the guy was like, oh well, people will say they're from Chicago and then they're from like a Naperville or whatever. And there's jokes on the internet about it too. Like there's this YouTuber that went to my high school that's in the Try Guys. I don't know if you know what that is, but he made a video, and I was talking to someone about this the other day, where he was eating a Chicago dog, and he said something along the lines of, oh, like, where are you from? And they say they're from Naperville, something like. I'm totally botching it because I just said the thing yesterday, but it's really funny. I'll send you the video later. but you'll laugh when you see it. Trust me. I'm so embarrassed because I forgot the quote, but it's so funny. In Naperville, Chicago. That I feel like that's the biggest thing.
Yes.
Yes. Segue time. You ready for this?
Yes.
Grow the game. How awesome of a segue is that? That's great, right?
Yes. Amazing.
It's a great segue because I'm really good at what I do. This is a hobby. I'm not being paid for to do this, everyone. So don't judge me. Okay. I'm 19. I have finals. Okay. That I'm working on for school. My brain not working today because I can't talk today. I'm embarrassed by that. I'm not a professional. I apologize. But segue, grow the game. Tell me about that.
Yes. And now when you say tell me about that, is this where I'm supposed to read like our mission statement that
You can do whatever the hell you want.
Okay, so now I'm gonna sound like the ad.
That's fine. That's okay. You can do whatever. No one's like, we're just chilling. And I even read an ad earlier. You can go into your ad reading voice like I did. Because there's a voice for that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I do it all the time when I'm joking about something. But I do it for sure related to grow the game. So I'm actually not gonna do that though, because I think I will start laughing halfway through now that we've already joked about it. But so grow the game it's an initiative, it's a movement. Hopefully in the future I can say more concrete things like a nonprofit organization, or just like a solidified company or organization. But right now it is a movement of an initiative to increase awareness, attendance, and engagement for women's sports, all of them. It is something that I started in July of this year. And like you said, it is a hobby. I do not get paid for Grow the Game. I do not make money off of Grow the Game. I put all of my money into Grow the Game, and the donations that I have been fortunate enough to receive from quite a few people since starting it. But it's an initiative. It's giveaways. It's content. It's events, marketing. It is whatever anyone needs it to be. It is people. It is all of us. It is you for what you're doing with this podcast and for inviting me to talk about it.
I've seen stuff on social about it. I'm not sure which account I found first, you or Grow the Game's Twitter. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but it might have been Grow the Game, and I followed it. Or it might have been you. Who knows? I don't have great memory, even though I like to say that I do. But I saw something about it. And I was like, wait, that's actually really cool. And I followed it. And I've been a fan of what you've been doing ever since. I think it's a really cool thing that you started, and getting more people involved and teaching them about, the game, whichever game it may be.
Right.
But do you have any plans for next year? Or are you just like waiting to see what happens in terms of that?
Okay, so kind of like what you just said. As of right now, when it comes to Grow the Game, I feel like I haven't really done anything. Like, I took a phrase that I had heard so long, and like so many people when they talk about, especially the WNBA. So I'll say it started with like the season, and specifically it came to be born through the WNBA. And so just hearing a lot of people say grow the game, grow the game. So then I attached a logo to it, and I said I want to call this movement of mine something. And so as of right now, I say I haven't done anything, because it has been moving from the people, the individuals who were already growing the game. And it really has kind of just been like a meeting place of our minds, of our efforts to do what we were all already doing. And I think that was a very successful thing for this year. And being able to get groups of people over the season at group games who were not necessarily already committed to growing the game, and everyone coming together to say, okay, let's give out these tickets, let's raise money for people who have never been to a WNBA game before, and give them those tickets so that they can bring their friends, their families to the game. So I will say I am proud that we were able to accomplish that and throw some community service in there for this year. And we're ending it out with helping DePaul. And just last week, I haven't talked about it too much on the socials yet, but it's coming. But we gave 2 awards away for to 2 young women in the community, in the Chicagoland community, who are actively growing the game, with their own community efforts as coaches, as people who supported Grow the Game. So those types of things. But next year, I would like to partner with more teams. If we're going to stick with the WNBA, when I say more teams, I mean like there are a certain number of people that I would like to, who don't live in WNBA markets. I want to get them to a game. So I want us to be able to have sponsors and partners and build relationships and fundraise so we can fly them and a guest out to a city to go to a game of their choosing, have their tickets, take care of transportation, take care of at least a couple meals. That is the biggest goal for me next year. Like you said earlier, we went from WNBA games with the Sky, and we did a group with the Atlanta Dream, and we were able to go to soccer. But I want to go to tennis. If it was able to happen this year, I really wanted to, with King Richard coming out, I tried so hard, but I wanted to rent out a theater in Chicago, invite young girls, high school students, tennis players, or who had an interest in tennis, and partner with a company to have them come to like a premiere of King Richard and give them tennis equipment or X amount of free tennis lessons. Like those are the types of things that I want to start doing. In addition to the groups and events, I want to start having seminars, talking about, the process of high schoolers being able to transition to college. Like when I was in high school, like I said earlier, I want to play soccer so bad. My parents don't know a thing about soccer. My mom still can't tell you a thing about soccer after all those years. So I didn't have anybody to tell me, how do I, go and play soccer at the collegiate level? So I was literally begging my coach, like, can you get a camera? Can you record me? I'll make my own highlight tape. I'll email coaches. I shouldn't have had to do that. I don't even know if I was breaking NCAA rules or not. But, having a seminar for kids who want to play those sports and take it to the level. What do you do? To have conversations with professional athletes and say, this is what you should be looking for. And an agent who is a good agent, who is going to do their job and do a good job. This is what, standard contracts should be if you cannot afford a lawyer at this time. Just touching bases with everyone in all those levels, working with players to say, let's host an event together. You have a foundation, I have Grow the Game. Let's combine them and see what we can do. So I want it to be any and everything. I want to work with everyone. I want to work with every organization I can, every team, every partner possible. That's what I want to do. I know that was a really long answer and probably not one that you were expecting, but that's my answer of what I want to do next year.
It's a great answer with a lot of great information. That what you're doing is amazing, and your goals for the future are so fucking cool. Like, don't mean to swear, family. I'm sorry. I shouldn't apologize. I'm an adult. I can do what I want. That is really cool. Like running out a theater for that. Like there's this stat out there, and I know it's changing every year, where like girls will stop playing sports at a certain age, or they just are undetermined or there's no resources out there for them. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
this would be a great way to, again, it's in the name, grow the game and
Yes.
continue to have these girls competing in sports and playing in high school and maybe playing at the collegiate level and beyond. It's just, it's freaking cool. There, I didn't
Thank you.
swear, family.
Thank you. But I kind of also want to okay, and so there was Goal Sports. I'm just gonna say they started out, I feel like, as a movement, an initiative, a
Yeah.
social media presence, and just announced that they would become consultants for organizations and gaining sponsorship, specifically, women's athletes, women's organization sponsorships. And that's kind of another branch that I had been thinking in my mind as far as like the events and attendance aspect of this, because you might have seen me tweet about it. And I tell people this: when I was in high school and I first got introduced to the WNBA, I wanted to know why nobody cared. Like, and I shouldn't say nobody, because when you go back and you look from the beginning of the WNBA, like old pictures, those arenas are packed. Like you can just and maybe, and I don't know if there's a causation correlation, but like Phoenix obviously, but LA Sparks games, Houston Comets games, like look up those pictures and those stands have so many people in them. But for whatever reason today, the running joke is no one's at those games. No one is going. And so in high school, I kind of wanted to understand what happened. Like, where did all of those people go? Granted, they were probably older people, and that makes sense because at high school, I don't have a car to get to a game. I don't have money to spend on season tickets. But wanting to sit down and figure out, how do we reach people? And so I want to be able to study that and figure it out and apply methods to ticket sales, to events, and figure that out at multiple levels. Because I think it's very weird that even when I was in high school, at these like high school AAU games, there are a lot of people. When you look on like Highlight Her social media and you see all these different like youth and high school, middle school games, and you see these players doing these awesome things, and not just in basketball, but in all these sports, you hear a crowd, right? And then somehow between middle school and high school, they stop becoming like that person's friend or their cousin. Like when you're at that age, it's like everyone's coming out. Oh yeah, we all supporting our cousin at her senior night, or we're all going to our cousin, our friend, our sister, our niece's games. But then when it comes to college, somewhere that gets lost in translation. Like what would have been a great high school game that probably could have got a whole bunch of people to come out to, there's not as many people in certain college games or in the sports and pro sports. And I just want to figure out, how did these women stop becoming your cousin, your sister, or your friend? When you would think, okay, they have their middle school alumni base, they have their high school alumni base, they have their college alumni base, and now they're in this city where people should just come out to the game because they're that team city. Where are all of these people? Why are they not there? And I want to, like I said, figure that out and start having conversations with, again, teams, sponsors, partners, athletes, to figure out how we can do that. So if there is an opportunity for us to go into like that corporate consulting, we'll do the event space, then we can do that too.
I love what they're doing at Goal Sports. I think I started following them probably around, I want to say, the beginning of the pandemic. I think I found that account. I mean, the reason I started this show is because I thought, there wasn't women's sports accounts out there, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
I just didn't know they existed. Like I thought there wasn't enough coverage. And this was before Together was a thing. before that was founded. And if people don't know what that is, that's the media company that what is it, Sue Bird and uh, Alex Morgan, and I can't remember the swimmer's name. And is it, oh, God, what is her name? Why can't I remember these athletes' names? I'm really lagging today. I think it's because my semester is almost over. I'm so upset with myself today. This is really,
Okay, yeah.
I can't
Simone, that's
remember.
what I
Yeah.
wanted to say.
Yeah. Okay. And then Chloe Kim, I believe,
Yes.
which is a snowboard. Yeah. So they started together. And just like I've seen so many more women's sports accounts out there. Like I've had a conversation o'clock with Kaylin, who runs More Than Just Balls, who has like so many freaking followers on Instagram. Like, whoa, that's a lot of people that are caring about women's sports and want to learn more. And I love these different kinds of accounts and people going out there like you, growing the game in this way. There's so many great ways to do it. Social media, going out there and to a game, having these different kinds of events. I want to know in the future if there's like a certain person or company that you want to work with. I know it's a very tough question. So many different people that you could work with.
I don't know. Is there anyone that comes to mind? Help me out.
I mean, someone that I've wanted to have on the show for a really long time is Ari Chambers. She's just so damn busy, you know.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that was a given. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
given. Actually, right before we hopped on here, I was figuring out like I was brainstorming of things that I could pitch to her to see if we could make it happen. And in the spirit of that, I'll say, because I think I tweeted about it. So if anyone takes this and runs with it, that's fine because I tweeted about it anyway. But I really want to do, and I know this is so random and this really doesn't fit, I guess, with most people, but I want to do a fashion show for All-Star Weekend. I really want to do a fashion show. And I
really
probably
cool.
thought of that because of Ari and her background, but also we do so many like fashion, fashion teams of people saying, like all the different accounts and just most fashionable or all these fits and all this stuff. And I've been trying to tell the W, like, can you all get an orange carpet for every team? Like, just find a long orange carpet and give it to everybody so that they can get these fits off on these orange carpets. But I think, and this could just be the big picture me, I'm just thinking about ways to introduce the players who are interested in modeling. Like Cheyenne Parker was huge on letting it be known that she had those aspirations. And you see like, Dejanay, one of Diamond's outfit, like she really got me with one of those outfits towards the end of the season this year, to where she literally made me stop in my tracks and tell her like, hey Diamond, you did not have to do this to us like this. We were not ready. But so many of them who are very fashion forward, I would like to be able to connect them with brands of all sizes, and and who are trying to appeal to all types of audiences, and say, let's work together and do a fashion show fundraiser. Again, always going to figure out a way to get a cause in there because, again, community. But having them do that fashion show during All-Star Weekend is just something that's not basketball related, but that allows them to fulfill their own interests and passions outside of basketball, while also possibly opening up a segue for them to get a bag doing modeling and introducing them to potential sponsors. That is something I would love to do. And I'm probably going to, when this drops, I'm going to make sure I add Ari so she can listen to this and see what she thinks about it.
I remember seeing that tweet. I think it's really cool. The orange carpet.
Yes.
Big brain move right there. That's a really good
Yes.
idea. Because when they post the players' outfits, it's just the hallway or whatever. Like, have a backdrop somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like around the stadium or whatever. And then like people, if they're gonna have special outfits or whatever to these games, I personally just dress in a jersey, but then the people that go to the games can actually stand on that orange carpet and that whatever backdrop they have and pose and tag the team and have a certain hashtag for it. I love the idea of a fashion show. I've been trying to define what my style is recently. Today it's just
Mm-hmm.
a hoodie and sweatpants, but maybe I'll consider next time I go to a WNBA game, I will try to have a better outfit. But
Yeah, that's another cool element of fan engagement as well. And I saw that at an Atlanta game. I want to say, I think it was an Atlanta game. I feel like Atlanta and LA obviously incorporate some fashion things into like their fan camera, and just like shoes or like you said, like outfits. I think that would be cool too, especially since we're always screaming about merch. I think there could really be something to that too on the fan side, but and the player side with this orange carpet.
and we're not copying Nickelodeon with the orange.
Oh.
Although I think they have a different colored carpet for that? I don't know. I used to watch whatever their award show was back when I was a youngin. I am much older now and I do not remember. But I can't remember if they had an orange carpet or not. We're not copying Nickelodeon. This is her idea. Okay. No one take it. You're not allowed to. Okay. Because you have to listen to me because this is my show. I'm in charge here. Okay. Awesome. Yes, we will have to. I'll try and see if I can clip this and I'll post it. Although I don't know how to post videos longer than, I don't even know what the time limit is on Twitter, but it'll be on the gram. We'll do that instead. I'll try to get that video out there. And yes, I have to make this happen because I want to say I
Yes.
love looking at all these outfits. Honestly, they're
Yes.
so
Yes.
awesome. The shoes, the shirts or the dresses that they're wearing, like
Yes.
all
And
phenomenal.
now that a lot more players, it's even at the college level, like Henny and for South Carolina, just if not already wanting to showcase brands that are already known, like other people's brands, a lot of them have their own brands. Like um who is that? Someone from Connecticut. Hydeman, I think, dropped a brand like right before the season ended, if not right after. But even like, hitting her up and saying, hey, do you want a model? Do you want to provide and design and have your clothes here for people to model? Or do you want to do both? And I think it would be very cool to see um or to create ways for them to reach and like again showcase their own things. Like so many of them have things that I feel like, here's a thought, and I will say this on every podcast, every talk, every panel I'm ever in. Um, League Pass commercials. I personally would not spend my dollars or my time if I'm, the person in charge of that running League Pass during a game I'm watching on League Pass, because since I'm already on League Pass, I know about it, right? But what I might not know about is the fact that Asia Wilson has candles. I do know about it because I have two of them. But if I didn't, I would rather leverage that and say, do you have an ad you want to run? Or Erica McCall, do you have one you want to run about, Bird's Eye View, your podcast? Who else has stuff? The podcast with, what is it? Tea with A and B, like
Yeah.
the things that people are already doing that we might not all know about. Help your players, right? Like, doesn't their brand matter too. Like I feel like it could all be so simple. So just finding ways to help them truly at all levels, from passions, other businesses. I just want people to work together more and figure out what fits and how everyone can help each other. And I just think the more eyes that's on everything related to them would be better for the league.
I've heard stories about League Pass. I cannot afford League Pass, but I've heard stories about the commercials and it not working just in general. But I think you make a great point with, let's showcase players and what they're doing off the court, because they're doing a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of great stuff. They're making their own stuff. They're doing stuff with causes they care about, promoting them. That's a great idea. I feel like they should already know that, but I guess not.
Yeah, and it's not to, talk down, because I've recently been accused of trying to start drama by my criticism of certain teams' decisions or the league's decisions. And it's not to be disrespectful, it's not to be rude or tell anyone how to do their job, but I feel like solutions get created when people talk about their ideas. And I think it should be embraced when fans and supporters have critiques, but in critiquing, they also provide potential solutions. I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, I mean, well, I will say shout out to Gatorade, because they did provide me my league pass. I too could not afford league pass at the beginning of this season and probably still can't right now, but I know they did give some league passes away. So I will remember this. And if they do it again next season, I will be sure to send you the tweet so that you can get a free league pass from them. But to just give you a heads up, you will hear the same league pass commercials for months, like a month at a time. Like they switch out like every month. The volume on those league passes will always be higher than the volume of the actual game. So while you have the game on at a level, do not get comfortable. Do not forget you have the game on, and do not go to sleep, because that commercial will wake you up. But I mean, like I said, it's a league pass commercial telling you about league pass. And you're already watching it, or it's a commercial about the W, like a promo commercial that they should probably be putting on like Disney or ABC or other, affiliates of who they have their network or game contracts with. Those types of commercials, as you're already watching the product that they are trying to advertise.
Okay, then. Well, WNBA, I know who you should hire. So if anyone from the W is listening, here's someone you can hire to fix all your problems, because you guys have a lot of problems.
Not all of them, but thank you. I would love to work for them. I would really love to make a connection with them and partner on something truly.
On this note, I'm gonna end the show. I hope that's okay with you.
But yeah, for sure.
I would just like to say thank you so much for coming on the show. I've been wanting to ask you for a while now. I was just trying to figure out when it would work out for me, and of course for you. As you know, my season for the show will be done in 2 months. I'm trying to figure out who's going to come on the show and what I'm going to talk about. I feel like it was a nice conversation about a lot of different things, and I'm glad we talked about Chicago and Naperville, because it's a great conversation, and I hope people enjoy that part the most out of anything, because I think it's just really funny. It's really funny. But now is time you can plug away, say whatever you want. It's okay. No one will judge you. You can plug your socials, talk about whatever. The floor is yours.
Woo. Well, if you're listening and you liked what I had to say today, please feel free to follow Grow the Game. That's at Grow the Game W on Twitter and Instagram. Grow the Game on Facebook and LinkedIn. And just follow our socials. Stay tuned for some giveaways, some upcoming events. Shout out to Dick's Sporting Goods, Wilson, Clever Shirts, Power Forward, Breaking Tea, and South Carolina women's basketball team and DePaul for their support over these last few months for what we've been doing. Um, Thank you so much for allowing me to come on here and to get to learn more about you, to talk more about Grow the Game and just hash out some real time ideas of, the conversations that we've had to figure out how we can both continue to grow the game. I obviously, we talked before we started recording, but just I wish you the best of luck in everything that you're doing. I think this is important. Again, a part of growing the game. I am very impressed with everything that you are doing at 19. You are amazing. And I cannot wait to see what more you continue to do in the future.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
It's like I never know what to say when people give me compliments because it's like I don't know. For people that are listening, I'm blushing a little bit. I really appreciate those very kind words.
You're welcome.
I hope we can work together somehow in the future. I mean, I am very broke, so I cannot give money, but I can give my time. I can give my time to help you in any way possible. Maybe we can do like a live show and we can bring in athletes and other people and kids can ask questions or whatever, something like that.
Yes.
But I really appreciate you being on the show and telling people about Grow the Game because I personally love it so much. And I love what you guys are doing. So please keep this shit up. I want to see all of this awesome stuff. And even though I may not be in Illinois for college next year, can't wait to see what you guys are doing in Chicago and across the country. I'm super excited to see what's going to happen. I really want to see that fashion show. So
thank you.
WNBA, come on, guys. just have the fashion show. But now it's time for me to plug all of this boring stuff that I say. I call it my spiel. And this is where the voice goes up a little bit because this is like my ad time. It's not. It's terrible. I change it every single time. Let's see. What is something important right now besides social media? I don't think anything. Oh, if you want to save money for the United Soccer Coaches Convention that I'm going to be on Podcast Row. If you want to come and visit me, but you want to save money, use the code POD22 by December 16th. This episode is coming out on December 14th, which means you have 2 days. So do it. Sign up, register, come visit me at Podcast Row. I will be with a bunch of other lovely creators. And I will love seeing everybody's faces in Kansas City, Missouri. I am super excited to go because I've never been to Kansas City. I've always wanted to go. I heard their barbecue is okay. Actually, I heard it's great, but that's not the point. I'm actually excited to go to the streetcar because I want to see that. And they followed me on social media. Speaking of, whoa, segue. That worked. If you want to follow me on social media, guess what? You can. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook. It's the same handle. It's at WSM Podcast. And on Instagram, you can follow me at Women's Sports Matter. I officially have my YouTube channel back up and running. I had a break where I decided not to upload my videos. But guess what? I'm doing it. This episode will be on YouTube in audio format, of course. But it's still going to be there. So make sure you subscribe. I'm like, let's see, we have 12 subscribers. It's the Women's Sports Matter podcast on YouTube. Make sure you follow or subscribe. Make sure you like and subscribe because that's a thing that people do these days. There's a bunch of great resources linked down below. There's a voting link, register to vote if you're eligible to do so. If you are looking for a vaccine and you don't know where to go, guess what? I got you. There's a link down below. It's vaccines.gov. Put in your address and just click the search button. You'll see vaccines available wherever. It could be at a CVS, a Walgreens, a Rite Aid, if you're in an area that has one of those. A Jewel Osco, a Walmart, Meijer. I literally used the link a few hours ago because I'm looking to get my booster shot. Think I'm going to go to a Walgreens. That's 2 minutes from my house because I use vaccines.gov. It's a great tool, okay? Make sure that you're following Grow the Game, okay? And if you're not, Shame on you. If you're not following me, shame on you. Shame on you. Follow us. Okay, we post great content. And I think the bonus of this, if you follow the both of us, you can see the Chicago conversations. I think that's the best part of this. But I have nothing else to say except for the fact to go get vaccinated. I feel like that's really important. Okay.